Welcome everyone to Gemalto's fourth and final Ask the Experts webinar for 2016. My name is Ariella Shoham. I am the Senior Director of Marketing for Gemalto's Software Monetization Business Unit, and I will be your host today. For those of you who are new to this program, Ask the Experts is Gemalto's quarterly webinar series where we share industry best practices in the world of software monetization. So we run for a year, and this is the one closing 2016. In our previous sessions this year, we discussed how cloud and virtualization are expediting the adoption of software-based business models for device vendors as a whole. We've been diving into various verticals over the past webinars. This time we're going to dive into what we're referring to as servitization, the shift from manufacturer to service provider, and how this is completely redefining the traditional manufacturing business. With us today are Dr. Mohammed Zaki, Research Associate at Cambridge Service Alliance in the UK, and Andreas Eichele, License Operations Manager at Kuka Robotics. So two exciting presenters, and I'm looking forward to this presentation today. Just before we start, I would like to draw your attention to the questions chat window on the webinar control panel. You are all on mute, but please feel free to submit your questions anytime throughout the webinar. I will be moderating these questions and I will submit them to our speakers at the end of the webinar. I think we are ready now to begin. Let me hand over the presentation rights to Mohammed. Over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you. Just to check, can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see your screen, not in presentation mode.
I will do that now. Okay.
Yes,
right.
perfect. Great.
Perfect. Right. Thanks for Ariel for inviting me for that webinar. Today I'm going to talk about a little bit about servitization and why manufacturers are trying to shift to the world of solution. And also specifically, we are in a trendy moment, let's say that way. There is a lot of talks and actually implementation as well into the digitalization manufacturer, right? That word is being picked up quite heavily now by industry. And also it's just been going to be aligned with the world of servitization services world. So there is a momentum shift. And also there is a market shift toward the world of servitization. Just continuously, we are collaborating with a lot of industry. So I'm sitting here in an institute called Institute for Manufacturing, based here in University of Cambridge. We doing a lot of research collaboratively with big industry who's manufacturer, who are kind of traditional manufacturer basically. And our role is actually trying to help them to help them into that messy, let's call it that way. It's quite messy for most of them as well. I put some agenda just to let you know where I'm going to talking about. The first thing I wanted to go through is actually the overarching trends where we see our collaborators and the world in general moving towards transition. And why that shift is going, why organizations are going to the servitization world. And then this service and solution world is going to come, like I just said, about the digitalization and the technology going to enable that kind of transition. But within this digitalization, we hear a lot about the big data and the data-driven business model. So normally, you're not going to, organization, we're not going to move into a solution or a servitization world without some business model components and some revenue streams that could be generated onto it. So I'm trying to get in touch, try to touch all these aspects around that presentation, and please feel free to ask questions at the end of the presentation as well. But here is the world changes. So what are the overarching trends? So we are moving from the world of products, who is like a box, you're selling a box, kind of, to a specific customer, into a solutions world. And this is primarily because customers not into products anymore. I think we are in a really competitive world that more or less our competitor can produce similar product features, which is really put a lot of pressure in manufacturer in general to get growth in the product kind of manufacturing. So that's why customers need your help into the solution world. And solution here mean you selling me the box and all the services and extra services around it as well. So just to give you an example, so we're dealing with organization like an asset heavy called Caterpillar. I would assume most of the people attending this webinar know them. So Caterpillar, if I ask anybody in that webinar what they're doing, everybody going to jump and say it's a yellow digger, you know, it's some kind of an asset heavy organization. But actually, this organization now starting to adapt with the demand of the market and the demand of customers moving towards a solution world. The solution here is actually trying to help their dealers to build new services to help customers. So the customer here is a dealer customer. You know, this like a network relationship. The OEM deal with a dealer deal with a consumer or customers. A customer here could be a construction business, could be a mining business. And here, the construction or the mining business doesn't want only the products, which is the digger or the crusher. Actually, they want to optimize quarry better. They want OEM and the dealers to help them to run their business smoothly. And here is a solution world. Here is a solution where we talked about services like condition monitoring solutions. Technology could enable to understand when the assets were going to fail. So basically, we could predict where the demands of the parts can go, and etc. So, and also as well, try to consult with these customers about the best way or the best practices that we could do to optimize a specific query to run your business smoothly. That's an example about the world. So the world is not interested only in that on the products, actually it's interesting into the whole thing. You could cover it up into that contract basically. Then going from the general type of engineering style, which is really input and output within processes in the middle, now we need more outcomes, right? So there is a shift towards more outcome-based contracts. And here we mean that the OEM or the dealers themselves, they tied up with customers about guarantee that we're going to generate a specific outcome for you that could allow you to run your business smoothly. For example, Rolls-Royce, and I think many of you heard about this, which is the loud hours, so which is basically I can monitor all the engines that is flying around us and basically going to guarantee it's going to be available to be running smoothly. So the outcome here is I'm gonna guarantee all the maintenance happening on time. I'm gonna guarantee that it's flyable, so it can fly on time as well. So here it's an outcome. It's not about, you know, this is a good product that could be reliable. You can rely on that product for 5 or 6 years. Actually, now I'm gonna guarantee that could be flying, and the engine is a good maintenance, and there is no risk around it. So a lot of examples around that we can see that customers now doesn't like, you know, the fact that just give me the products and I'm going to deal with it. No, I want you to run my business, and I want you to guarantee that this business will, this kind of products will going to be reliable in my business, and I can have some outcome around it as well. It's not a transaction level now, it's actually going to a relationship. So the transactions is just, this is my customers, I'm going to give you the products, and that's it, goodbye. And when you need me, and when you have some problem, just please call me. It's not like that anymore. Actually, it's built up with a lot of relationship between these networks together. And the problem about that is a complexity. So because basically understanding who is your customer now is quite a question mark. The customer relationship between the customer relationship toward the OEMs and whoever have a relationship with is really changing completely, because now in order to satisfy my direct customers, I have to satisfy the customers as well, right? So that put us into a relationship not only with our direct customers actually, but to find another ways to understand the customers. Getting into our internal scenario here, which comes to the supplier and the network partners. So we don't deal with suppliers only anymore. Actually, it's a network of partners, because basically, if I want to build the solutions, I need a service provider, like a technology provider, to help me to do that. I need as well a list of maybe a competitor as well, just to help me. So that there is a dynamic change in the world now. We can see that we can't do it alone. We can't close ourselves into a box and be secretive together and develop that box. Actually, we found a lot of examples that organizations try to open up, even with competitor, and think differently about coming with new business models that could allow us to do this. So there is no elements anymore. Actually, what we call it, there is an ecosystem you should think of, right? So the world are changing, and you think about these different examples that comes from big organizations who's actually taking services really seriously. So General Electric, for example, starting to build that Predix platform, which is the next Internet of Things, industrial Internet of Things kind of platform, to allow different people to allow different customers and also suppliers and network of their ecosystem to be part of that platform in order to come up with an innovative business model in the future. So this is just a general overarching trends that we can see big organizations, big manufacturing in general, why they are moving to the services and solutions. And why the why bit is coming to that part. So there is economic rationale. So manufacturer can find there is a lot of competition between themselves, and could be innovative services could allow them to be distinguished, could allow as well to have some stability about the revenues. So if we ask some of our industrial partners, for example, one of the defense companies, BAE Systems, when they are interacting with the Ministry of Defense, for example, they normally saying actually 50% of our contracts are in the services and solution world. So they used to manufacture all these airplanes and aircraft and submarines and etc. They still do that, but actually a lot of portfolio of their businesses are into the solution and services world. Similar to Caterpillar. If you think about, for example, we have another partner is called Pearson. So Pearson, if I ask anybody if he is a publisher, so it's a book producer. But now, actually, because of the publishing and the media business are collapsing, they starting to build new business models based on capitalize on the digitalization that they did into the books, into a platform that allow them to consult with education industry. So maybe universities, colleges, and etc. And they build an online platform that allows students to enroll basically with different classes, but also using the data analytics to understand the behaviors of these students and how they can progress in their study, basically. And this has given them a lot of revenue stream as well, because it's a solution now, it's a services. It's not only just to give you the book and you deal with this, or give the student the book or the professor ask the student to get the book because this is part of the curriculum. No, actually it's now solutions, and actually it's a technology that allow the students to be locked in and basically understand the behavior of these students to allow them to progress in their study. And there is a lot of revenue streams coming from that. But there is a strategic rationale as well. So you want to look in your customers, and here is the typical example similar to Apple. Why Apple, for example, build the infrastructures about iTunes and etc. Because basically we want to lock in all your library of music and photos and videos, which is lock you in their business, because it makes you hard to move to any other brand, because basically it's much easier to move from one iPhone, for example, 6 to iPhone 7, because all your library is in one place. So there is a lock-in type of strategy that organizations try to look at, and also try to look out competitors as well. So that's back to the example of General Electric, why they choose that route of servitizations and make it part of their vision and strategy and build this industrial Internet of Things, because they see the value of connecting people into that platform and connecting all the data that comes from different engines and sensors and etc. allow them to understand the market and be ahead against their competitors. And again, the differentiation part, but also not only the differentiation is important, because we do that for our normal products cycle, but also now is actually to be differentiated into the solution cycle, and also build that capability to be ahead in the market as well and try to compete in a national way. But then we found a lot of example that the customer demand that, right? So it's not you've got some organizations saying we will stick with our business because we understand it very well, but then you can find as well that the customers are pushing them. You know, we heard, for example, your competitor doing these solutions for us. Why you're not doing that? Because basically I can't move from you to the other because he gave me more value than you. So there is a notion about capabilities here. If you don't have it, you know, the customer are expecting it, and basically you're going to lose that customer, because basically you can go to other competitors because you don't have that capability. And also service as a pre-sale activity. It could be the other way around actually. So actually you could have it as an activity to attract more customers as well. But there is an environmental rationale as well. We are moving. There is a change of the ownership and resource use. We got this example from not in the B2B, but you can see from B2C. Example like Uber and Airbnb, they don't have any resources at all, and they managed to build billion business, right? they don't have hotels, or they don't have cars for taxis. So actually, it's just a small technology which has allowed them to do that. The way that allowed this servitization world to go is actually the digitalization. So the digitalization fact, this is the current, what we have now currently. So you have manufacturing systems, you have robots, you have 3D printing in some industry, you have all these product life cycle scenario, operation system as well, ERP, CRM systems, marketing operation, warranty, etc. And then we have the mobile and cloud systems. But what we're looking at in the future as well now, we're talking about some technologies like Internet of Things, cyber-physical systems. We're talking about virtual reality. We're testing some application around it. We're talking about drones and picking and delivering things, all the way to think about an artificial intelligent and cognitive system that allow you to understand things better and answer you quicker, right, and take decision quicker. All that comes with huge amount of data that come around it. So you've got sensors data, you've got systems that data comes from different systems, open data as well, which is quite generated data that you should capitalize on it. Not only about this, but also the complexity of this data is quite variance, because it's the variety here comes with structures and unstructured as well. So there is some technology aspects around this new technologies that have been introduced. But all the sort of things here we talk about is actually it's all about that technology that been hyped recently, which is the big data. It's not hype, it exists now. If you make sense about all of this data generated, you can generate some new business model out of your solution that you're going to provide to your customers. And the way we looked at it is actually how you can design these data-driven business model world. And we come up with that blueprint, which is really you need to understand what is the target outcome you want to come up with. And the target outcome here could be a product or a service solution to a specific customers or to your general customer. It could be you would like to be improve the service or the solution that you would like to introduce. It could be a competitive advantage, it could be a market share, and etc. So it's not about you just follow the fashion or the follow the trend. It has to have some meaningful around it. And here the offering, specifically because we are dealing about data-driven business, we are dealing with data as a key resource here that could drive some revenue stream. So the offer, it could be a raw data, you could give it to customers, and you have to think out of the box here. So organization thinking about using the data in itself because they're collecting it and basically come up with revenue stream differently. So leave whatever business model that you have traditionally, but how you generate more revenue stream from different services because you are capitalizing on these data. It could be information and knowledge because you are analyzing these data, or it could be a non-data product or service. But within this complexity, you need to think about where you're going to get these data from. Is it internally, right, or externally, or the mix, right, or the mix between them. With the level of activities that you could come up with, so the aggregation, right, so you just aggregate the data and just introduce it to somebody, or you go all the way to sophistication, the analytics, descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive, and all the way to distribution, processing, and visualization. That's for the whole full solution. So there is some organization when they develop some capabilities, they think about one or two, or think about the whole full chains of activities, and they try to break the different pricing or the revenue stream to their customer in a different way. Then you've got the revenue stream in the middle, which is you think about, is that I'm going to help back to my industry normally, is it going to be asset sale, lending, renting, and etc. You should think about it. But then the way you should think also about the barriers that can allow you. So organization and innovation cycle normally get picked up by designing new services without thinking deliberately about what are the challenges that they could face them. I mean, it's a general challenge and different from one industry to another. So sometimes there is an organization which is quite conservative, which is culturally driven, because their mindset is developed by product. They don't want to go to the world of service and solution, or even the data world, because basically they're quite conservative. So that needs a specific strategy to deal with. Also the personnel, you need to train all your people for that changing process. What is a value perception? Is it our customer, for example, we're gonna perceive that well or not? Then some technical bunch of problems. For example, do we have all the data that we need? Are we organizing it well in the quality and integrity issue? Can we rely on this data? Can we build these analytics capabilities in-house? All the way to legal and privacy issues and the resources that needed to be done in that world. Then you've got some practicality issues as well to run that business, whole things. So there is a lot of maturity in that level. You could reach it from simple level all the way to sophistication, but it's not easy to do that shift in a general way. And the severity of these challenges could be different between one organization and another. But just the last slide here that I wanted to talk about is actually what different type of business model that you could use, and we have a paper happy to be distributed on this, which is with 6 data-driven business model we saw in the market is going on, especially for organizations that try to shift to the world of services and solutions. So actually there are organizations using the free data, which is, and they collect it and they aggregate it and give it to customers basically. So if you think about, it's not Predix per se, but if you think about the similar example about Predix, if you're going to build the infrastructures and the APIs to collect different data, and especially from free data sources, whatever, it's like weather data, etc., they could aggregate it and they could generate some just revenue stream by the cleverness of collecting these data. The typical one that we know is analytics as a service, which is basically you have the data somehow. It could be your customers give it to you, or it could be your data, and you provide some analytics to your customers as a consultancy services or as an additional services to your product stuff. Data generation, that's you put some sensors, for example, on these on your products and basically generate, and you develop some analytics on top, and you give it. That's a typical example of condition monitoring solution, for example. Or you could use again the free data and come up with some knowledge discovery or a predictive analytics. So here the message is actually not only the data that you have internally, but there is a lot of data up there that you could use, and you come up with analytics as well on top and come up with some business model. Or also just aggregate the data and deliver it to a service as well. And then the last one is about how you combine different data together and they come up with analytics. There are a lot of details about this kind of business model, but I want to stop here because actually looks like I run out of time as well. But happy to receive questions.
Thank you, Mohammed. I thought that was great. And let me give you one question that came up. And let me just open it, just 1 minute. Sure, wait a sec. I've just had that here in front of me. Sorry, I have an interface. Okay, just let me unplug this, just 1 minute. Oh, I'm having a bit of a... Oh, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so there's a question. You mentioned that servitization is driven by competitors and customers, but how about the influence of suppliers, government, regional influence? Is the source really just competitors? Are new technologies really just an enabler, or maybe also more a chance for changing services?
Yeah, so I mean, thanks for asking the questions. It's really a challenge thing. So to be honest, it's come back to the nature of the industry, that one thing. But why we said competitors and the customers, because this is the direct relationship between the organization straight away to the competitor. You are monitoring your competitors, and whatever things they are doing new, that's why you are jumping, think about it, shall we do it, or not. So there is a lot of interaction in that direction, or activity in that direction. And the customers is a direct one that you normally day-to-day basis you are interacting with as well, and who's asking for a demand. So if you see a pattern that your customer is saying, you need to do that service, otherwise, especially if he is a loyal customer, is a big customer, heavy customer, that paying a lot of money to your contracts, that's why we said, that is a direct kind of drivers that allow organization to think deliberately about moving to the service solution model. But you're right, there is a regulator aspects according to the industry, there is a region aspect as well, there's a lot of other kind of variables as well that you could think about. Then come back to your comment about the technology could change things. Actually, we see this. If I remember correctly, we invited the head of technology in General Electric at some point in one of our conferences, and he was saying we were clear to the vision of the Internet of Things, and we're going to go toward, because we think this is the future, this is what's going to happen. And the fact he said as well that was interesting, he said, and now our competitors is not Rolls-Royce or other engine manufacturer company. Actually, our competitors now is IT companies, which is like IBM, because they are in the space of the Internet of Things as well, and they're going to build another platform. So what we thought about, actually, the technology could allow us to come up to reinvent our business models, but the way we're going to do it is actually step by step, and we try to be ahead in the market, build that ecosystem right, and build the infrastructure right to allow us to generate revenue stream without losing everything and losing our customers as well.
Interesting. I like also what you said about the way this wasn't a traditional type of competitor, exactly, right? So that it was more like an industry shift that made them think about this. Interesting. Okay, thank you.
And to be honest,
Sorry, yeah.
so, and to be honest, is not only the big player as well that we notice, actually startups as well could come and play that game. So it's not only the normal big players who should come and just take your bits and pieces from your business model. You can see small startups, can do things better and have the capability to build the technology right, and take a big portion of your revenue stream as well, because basically they can do this service right.
Yeah, I agree. Interesting. Okay, so let's listen to Kuka Robotics, who I'm sure you're all familiar with. I'm going to let Andreas Eicheler take the lead. Let me make you a presenter,
I will
Andreas.
move.
Sorry, yes?
Shall I give you back, or you can
I've
manage
taken
that?
it. I'm giving it
Sorry.
to Andreas. No problem. Andreas, over to you.
Okay, I think I already took over control, so that should work now.
Yes, we
Can
can
you see
see your
my
screen.
my
Yes,
screen?
yes. Everything's great.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you very much, Ariella. Hello.
Hello, sorry. Sorry, Andreas.
Okay.
Now we can hear.
There was some sound on the audio line, but can we start now?
Yes, you are good. Sorry. You're good.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you very much. So I think that was the perfect question at the lesson. I will talk about this in my presentation as well. So my presentation today will cover the current transformation of Kuka from a classic German machine builder to a cloud-focused software company that has understood that just to sell a piece of metal will not be sufficient to last at least another 100 years in business. So to start, just a few words about Kuka. Don't panic. It's just this one slide to give you some required background. I won't drench you in marketing bling bling. But some facts are necessary perhaps to understand all that. So Kuka is a more than 1 century old German machine builder. We started our business first with and subsequently other welding applications. And over the years we developed and produced additional products like garbage trucks, knitting machines, typewriters, so all machine business. And finally, in the early 1970s, we started to experiment with versatile robot applications. And since then, we never left this area again. By the way, Mohammed, thank you very much for using a Kuka robot in your slide deck as well. So you can see them in the background here. So these are the robots we are talking about, not fancy transformers or humanoid-like robots like in Star Wars. So these orange arms here are what probably have been producing your car or any other asset you're using today. And also these bug-like little black creatures, these are robots as well. These are automated guided vehicles that serve the different cells with production materials. So, and we at Kuka, we see ourselves as the innovation leader in robotics. So today we're one of the big four in automation, with competitors mostly here in Europe and in Japan. We're selling far more than 20,000 units, robot units a year, serve customers in all relevant markets over the world, from automotive industry over aerospace, electronics and consumer goods to nowadays also in logistics, healthcare and service robotic. And we're doing quite well in that. So turnover and EBIT grew about 100% over the last 5 years. And our share price exploded from around about 14 euros in 2011 to over 115 euros this year. So we really could be content with that. So the question for us is, why should we change anything? Can't we be content with that? So isn't it enough to slowly improve and go on to sell our machines or plants or process know-how like we did over the last 30 years? So today we ask us, why do we need a digital agenda? Why are we pushing so really hard into new technologies and want to become the robot process and cloud software company? By the way, that's a claim, if you ask me, that only a German marketing expert could create. But so it is. So why are we pushing so hard? It's because of them. This guy here, he was very successful for a long time as well, and probably he was content with that. But suddenly, environment changed, and all that remains of him and his fellow dinosaurs today is some bones in the earth and fancy stories based on Steven Spielberg. Today, we're living in a world of change as well. And as it was true for the dinosaurs, these are not just some isolated local changes, but global megatrends. And I guess that's not all too new for you. So mobility, globalization, global warming, overaging society, urbanization, digitization and connectivity. And parallel to that, the wish for individualization and almost everlasting health. These are just the most prominent examples of these megatrends. I could go on with science, culture, neo-ecology, gender shift, and so on. And these trends naturally are not only affecting our private life, they have an impact on manufacturing as well. And that's why we should care about. On the one hand, they're generating new requirements, a market pull. I will give you an example for that. Due to clever marketing, unique product features, or whatever, everybody in our globalized world wants to own everybody in our globalized world wants to own these new cool Nike or Adidas sneakers. But if you just own what everyone else owns, that's nothing special. So in fact, today people are willing to pay more than 3 times the original price to get a pair of shoes out of a more or less individual special collection. And the only difference is that the stripes on one side of the shoes are differently colored than in the standard edition. So great for a shoe manufacturer if you can react to that, isn't it? On the other hand, huge new possibilities arise from the technology push that accompanies these megatrends. With IT resources getting ever cheaper and more powerful, the Internet of Things is already at our doorstep. For those of you who are my age or a little bit older, it does not feel so long ago that the sentence, "Get out of the Internet, I want to use the phone," was heard in almost every household. That was the times of the 56K modem. A standard smartphone today is much more powerful than a complete personal computer 10 years ago. And if we follow Moore's and especially Nielsen's law, the possibilities of connectivity are still at a very early stage. So how should we as manufacturers react to that? How can we react to not make it so messy as Mohammed was telling us before? Fortunately for us manufacturers, the technology push is, at least at the moment, much bigger than the market pull. So we have the advantage to be able to design the manufacturers, our future, and not just have to react to our customers' wishes. The possibilities here are endless, and they do not just lie in faster or more accurate machines. That naturally does not mean that you can just ignore your customers' wishes like good old Henry Ford is suggesting here. But to really innovate, you have to go beyond these wishes, and especially beyond your perhaps long time and used to way of selling and earning money. For the classic manufacturer's business, not better or newer machines or other products will be the revolution. It's the ecosystem and the possible business models it creates that will push your business onto the next level. Some trends are already visible that come with the technology push. Collaboration instead of the classic producer-consumer relationship. Replacement of hardware by software. No more need to own and buy machines, just use them and pay for what you really consumed. So you can concentrate on your core competences and outsource everything else. The technology push enables you to interact in totally different ways with your customer as you were used to. So say goodbye to the classic one-time sale of a product, where you know almost nothing about what your customer is doing with your product afterwards, except in the case where it doesn't do what the customer wants and you have to service it. Say goodbye to the times where you create revenue only at the moment when the good is delivered to the customer. Say hello to new business models where you collaborate with your customer over the whole lifetime of your product. where you create recurring revenue based on the real usage of your products and the additional services you offer. Say hello to Industrie 4.0. Say hello to Servitization. So that was the theory. Nice idea, you might say, but what should I do in practice to realize all these fantastic new sales potentials? Well, honestly, I can't tell you that in particular, but I can give you an idea what we at Kuka are doing. Over the last 2 years, we developed Kuka Connect. Kuka Connect is a cloud-based software platform that allows customers to easily access and analyze their production assets data on any device, anywhere, at any time. The different assets are connected to edge controllers, as you can see here. And these serve as a gateway to the Kuka cloud. And this cloud contains a digital twin or digital shadow of all the connected production assets for innovative new business models and service concepts. These include, on the one hand, the expansion of our classic businesses. So in future, we will not only be able to sell a robot system, that is the base, but we will be able to offer robotic as a service. Then you don't have to pay for a robot system in advance, but rather for what you are doing with it. For example, we could charge a fee for each unit produced or for every time a certain calibration program has been executed. This lowers the barrier for smaller customers that has been set up by the high investment costs for a robot in advance. You have to remember that the start for a robot system, today's start price is approximately around 35,000 euros. So, or we are now able to monetize knowledge that is already available at Kuka internally. We do that by giving the customer access to internal databases based on the current problem or questions they are experiencing at the very moment with their connected asset. And on the other hand, of course, completely new business opportunities are possible with that as well. With the interconnection of all the production assets, data mining in currently unknown volumes is possible. And this is true not only for our own products, but for any asset connected. The collection of real-time information from each asset, each sensor, and potentially each actuator enables big data analysis. And with all that, we expect a rise of productivity between 20 and 30% for the whole manufacturing industry. In addition, we are building up a manufacturing-specific app store, an open platform for machine and tool builders or automation service providers. So in this app store, you will not only be able to find apps for Kuka products, but also apps and services from specific machine or tool builders for their specific products that are connected to our cloud. And now finally, why am I telling you all that in a Gemalto webinar? So well, in the end, all these fancy new technologies and super business model ideas, they won't help you if you can't make any money out of them. The degree of complexity of the technical solution increases more and more. But please, don't bother your customer with that. According to a 2014 Gartner survey, 89% of marketers expect to compete primarily on the basis of customer experience by 2016. The customer doesn't really care about the internal complexity of your product or solution. He just expects it to work. So your challenge is to find a balance between customer experience and your monetization needs. And that's where licensing comes in. That means you need a solution that can standardize licensing and entitlement processes across all the involved platforms and technologies. Only then you will be able to offer your customers seemingly individual pricing models, tailored exactly to their needs. Or in simpler words, it gets more and more important on how you charge and not on how much. If you provide easy access to and user-friendly design of all license and payment-related topics and processes, you will reach this so important unique customer experience. I mean, with proprietary systems that, for example, require different login or authentication procedures and credentials each, you surely will not be able to convince your customer to climb to the next level with you. And last but not least, at the contrary, probably the first thing to think about. You need a solution that guarantees security and protection of your customers' data. If data are the new oil, data loss or losing data integrity is the biggest possible oil catastrophe. In this context, I like the quote of Michael Sunke at the Licensing Live convention this year very much. He said, "Don't put your key under the carpet. Be sure that you do not create a security risk for your or your customer's business." So, what is my conclusion of all this? Well, I strongly suggest to embrace the new technologies and the possibilities both the market pull and the technology push are offering us. But remember, you don't have to rush into that headless. As I explained before, all these mega trends are challenges for our customers as well. So take your time. Use this current and almost unique possibility to take a design thinking approach. Really focus on what the customer needs, but not in the way of just waiting for them to tell you what to do. Bring together skilled people and let them jointly create new solutions and radical ideas. And my personal advice, include monetizing aspects from the scratch. To implement such a solution afterwards will probably be hard and frustrating work. I know what I'm talking about. Keep in mind Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella's now infamous words that with the Internet of Things, every business will be a software business, even if you have been a hardware manufacturer for the last 100 years. Because if you don't, remember the dinosaurs. So no, these are not the dinosaurs, but these guys here literally are the successors of the disruptive meteorite, volcano, virus, or whatever killed the dinos. Each of them caused an environmental change for the established marketers in the respective area, and by that killed or significantly reduced the importance of single companies or even whole industries. Take Bill Gates, for example. This one here up. With the introduction of Microsoft Windows, the former worldwide used operating system DOS perished into insignificance. The success of Amazon led to a mass dying of small and independent bookstores. The losses of the newspaper publishers due to Google services we discussed already with Mohammed before, and they are known to all of you. With Napster, Sean Parker nearly reached the doom of the whole classic music industry. And at the moment, Travis Kalanick's Uber is massively attacking the classic taxi industry. So you can do everything right in your current business, but if you're not able to think outside your box, someone else will come and alter the business environment you are used to. These disruptive innovations are part of the technology push. And by the rising speed of the technological development, they come with rising speed as well. I hope I won't be able to replace the question mark here with a respective head in the near future. Or at least just with that of Till Reuter, our CEO. So that was it from my side. I hope it wasn't too scary. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. And if not, well, evening, at least for me here in Germany, is near.
Andreas, thank you. This was very, very interesting, and look at this terrific picture. I was just recently reading an article with all the Kuka robots in the Tesla factory, and they're pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I have a few questions. So one that just came up now is, how will you manage the exponential rising complexity? I think it's a bit of a broad question. Let's see.
Well, we're really struggling with that. That's true. So for the rising complexity, it's just the people, the right people that you have to bring together. For all these new technologies, we started a new company for that is developing our new Industry 4.0 services, and well, they're really clever. So yeah, you have to think deep into that. You can't give an easy answer to that. But as I said, the crux on all that is don't let your customer see it.
Yeah.
Your customer doesn't like complexity. He wants a solution.
Yeah. And another question, I guess maybe a predecessor to this was how was the Kuka's transition driven? Was it top down? So is it a CEO vision, or did this come bottom up?
Yes. So that I can directly say it was a CEO direction. Well, we have always been very innovative at Kuka. We have more than 600 people in our R&D department, and they are really used to think out of the box. But this new digital agenda, this push into new technologies, that is really management driven.
Interesting. I'm going to ask Mohammed, are you with us still? A question. There's another one that's coming in for you as well, Andreas. You can read it while I ask Mohammed. Mohammed, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. So there was a question that the most of the presentations, or both your sessions, were I guess from an OEM perspective, but there was a question about, let's say, more a tier one. So an example here is a gearbox manufacturer who wants to add additional services for his product. So or something like predictive maintenance solutions. Have you done any work or any research on this that can help understand how, I guess, the tier one players can also venture into this servitization type of model?
So who's the tier one again, sorry?
So I think that the example that was the example here is, let's say it's a manufacturer of a gearbox, I guess, for maybe a car, and they want to add
Okay.
services to their products, and they're talking about maybe predictive maintenance as a solution. So
Right.
yeah. I think they're asking probably what would be the best practice for them to try and do that.
Yeah. Right. So how you build a predictive maintenance is there is a little. So the interesting. I don't know how to answer that directly. So when you're building in general a solution like the predictive maintenance or any analytics activity, it comes back to the point that Andreas was mentioning. Is that going to be part internally of my company, or actually shall I spin that out as a different activity that I could get an organization who has this capability to help me to do this, and that should be aligned with my organization. So there is different approaches that organizations are taking. The organization can say, actually, we're going to be innovative enough, we're going to build that internal capabilities, and we will build that condition monitoring solution unit inside my organization. I'm gonna get hire people that allow this, but you can see there is a lot of investment you're gonna put into the place and a lot of skills that you should train. There is another approach which is similar to what Andrea would just mention. They get the company, but they don't put it inside the organization. They build what they call sometimes digital centers, and they leave it outside the organization. Still part of the organization, but they try to keep it away from the legacy system, and because the mindset is still of the whole people that work in this organization didn't change that much. So in order to not stop them from the innovative way, they try to spin it out or leave it as a digital center that could allow them to do their work and do clever things. There is advantage and disadvantage, right? So the advantage of building that internal capabilities is actually you try to energize all the people and changing the mindset. And if you have a clear vision, this is the way you should do this. You should follow the model of General Electric. They say, we're going to build it internally, we're going to get all the networks right, we're going to get all the capabilities right, this is our vision, let's go toward it. And this is like a bold statement, which is you're going to take all the risk around it. If you take the second approach, there is normally in academic world, we call it ambidexterity strategy, which is actually you still keeping your business model, right? Which is really, let's take Andrea's example, which is really still selling the robots to your customer, but you are trying new ideas, a new business model within this digital center as a pilot, and see when the right time to move that business model. And that is different from one industry to another. So the gearbox industry or the automotive industry in general, right, it's quite in a risk position now, because basically we're hearing about the autonomous cars and etc., you know, and big IT companies will trying to push as well the technology there. And that is another conservative way. So you have a current business model, you keep working on it, which is ambidexterity, and the other hand, which is you have another digital center working on to come up with a new business model that you could rely on. And I think partly of that strategy is actually you try to assess the market instead of waiting until the platform is being burned. So the dinosaur thing that Andreas just to capture around, that's why you have to capitalize and assess the market right. This is when the right time you should introduce that service or that solution, and don't keep conservative until the platform is being burning, like what happened in the media industry, for example. That's a typical classic one.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that addressed.
Hopefully I answered the question.
Yes, it did, or at least on my end, and I don't see a follow-up question, so I think it did. We're actually coming up to the end of our session, so if there are more questions that anyone would like to address, then you're welcome to email me directly, and I will make sure that your questions get forwarded. I would really like to thank both our presenters. I thoroughly enjoyed both the presentations today. I thought they were very insightful. So thank you, Dr. Zaki, and thank you, Andreas. I thought the presentation went very well. And so I'll bid everyone good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. And thank you again for joining us today. A recording will be made available to everyone following the session. So thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.